Runway, then a left turn and a left downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on a white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final, you're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold, take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final, runway 9er clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, we have one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger, let's see, what we got, a tricycle, put it down, tricycle, put it down, tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you cleared land on 9, all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Kennard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around, that'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Kennard's going to have to go around. Kennard, go around. Kennard, go around. Kennard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. You do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Kennard?
Yeah, Kennard.
All right, Kennard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Kennard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RB, maybe an RB-10, whatever, here on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around. Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that. After 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, 3, 2, 1.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing? Hello and welcome, and thank you very much for joining us tonight on this Thursday, wet, windy, and bloody cold Thursday night. Yeah, it is Thursday, isn't it? It's been a confusing week for me. Sorry. Anyway, let's move on. I hope you all enjoy my flags here, because I've clearly been watching a lot of TV and decided that flags are a thing for people to have if they're on screen. So big flags here, and thank you to my friends in France who sent me that little aeroplane. You gave me that little aeroplane. So bonjour, ça va? To those people, thank you very much. Right, what have we got tonight? Well, before we do anything, we need to thank Skydemon, who have supported the live stream for the past 3 months. I'm very happy to say, and will continue to be supporting live stream work, which I'm also very happy to say. Wouldn't really be possible without them, and I've just messed up my little thing here. Hang on a second, bear with me. And this is your top tip this week from Skydemon.
Hi, I'm Tim from Skydemon. Welcome to today's top tip. To find out more information about a piece of airspace, press and hold to bring up the What's Here menu. You can see here the whole airspace stack is illustrated, so Class D to 5,500 feet and Class A above. The two pieces of airspace are listed here along with their frequencies if you wish to enter them. Press on a piece of airspace and you'll see its outline highlighted on the map. For more information and tips on using Skydemon, go to skydemon.aero and choose Help and Support.
Oh.
There we go. I didn't know you could touch on the map and highlight the airspace.
Who knew?
No. You do learn something every week, don't you, with this?
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
We've got some cracking comments already.
Have we?
Ian thinks he's president. I need to put a shilling in the meter. And yes, the transformer has blown in here, so I'm down to one bulb.
Transformer?
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you mean thinks he's president?
We've got a reader in the comments who's just bought his first aeroplane. Congratulations, Julian Dow. I just bought my first aeroplane. People are asking what's he bought. He's bought a Eurostar SL. Fantastic choice. If Paul Cadell was here, he'd be congratulations.
Nice one, Julian. It wasn't parked at Stapleford, was it? We'll come back to that in a minute. So, talking of weather, what have we got coming up tonight? We have got Simon Keeling, who is not live, but he sent in a little recording telling us what the weather's going to be like this weekend. And if you want to go and make a cup of tea, do so now, because I think the answer is pants. We have got a whole bunch of news coming up, which Dave will get to shortly. And then we've got Stjohn Youngman, who's the MD of Electroflight. So stick around and let's talk to him about all things electric, aviation, Rolls-Royce, and all sorts of other bits and pieces. Going to be fascinating. I'm sure I can see him in the green room now, enjoying his free crisps and Coca-Cola. So that's good news. Right, let's go for the... Oh, maybe it's not Coke. Maybe it's coffee. Let's have a look at Simon's. Sorry,
it's a cup of tea.
Cup of tea. Yes. Good. Let's see what Simon has to say about the weather this weekend, shall we? Here we go. No, really. Here we go.
Evening, everybody. Sorry I can't be with you live this evening, but with the forecast I'm about to give you, probably I'm not going to be missed that much. Hope you've had a good week of flying, managed to get some in. I went flying on a very windy Thursday. And wow, there's been some wind around this week. Stapleford Airfield in Essex had a tornado by the looks of it go through. Damaged helicopters, damaged some airplanes as well. Not an unusual phenomenon, particularly to get tornadoes in the UK. In fact, a little statistics from a few years ago was that there are more tornadoes per square mile in Wales than in anywhere else in the world. Did you know that? No, they may not be kind of the twisters that we see in The Wizard of Oz, but they're there nonetheless. So yeah, I think just a reminder from the weather that get the aircraft tied down, and you're going to need to do that as we go through this weekend. This is the forecast for Friday. Got a cold front that kind of clears its way from eastern parts of the country during the course of Friday morning. Now, I'm using Friday just because it may be a flyable day, or at least become flyable in the afternoon across many parts of the Midlands, across parts of Wales, across parts of southwest England as well. Probably a little bit breezy across northeast England and eastern Scotland. Got some rain coming into western Scotland, into the north and the west of Ireland as well, and it is going to be windy here too. Notice that the base is here pretty low across southern parts of Wales, getting into the Midlands. I think that's more to do with showers though. Where you see red colours on the cloud ceiling forecast, that is cloud bases below 500 feet. Where we're into yellows and greens are 1,000 to 2,000 feet. So it's green and above really that we want to be able to see. You see that most of that low cloud across northern and western Ireland, western Scotland, this is the cloud associated with a cold front clearing away from the southeast. Actually, southeast England, East Anglia, probably not bad flying on Friday afternoon as that front clears away. You just got to get in on the back of that front and things not looking too bad. Now, as far as Saturday is concerned, yeah, not very pleasant. Okay, actually, at first, across eastern Scotland, probably across eastern parts of England. So early flights are okay, but just beware of this system that's sweeping into the south. It's going to be bringing non-VFR conditions across many parts of southern England, really from Saturday morning onwards. And then it moves its way northwards, lowering bases. The winds are going to be increasing. It's a deteriorating sort of day. But as I say, if you can get in early doors, across probably Scotland, across eastern Scotland, northern, northeastern parts of England. I guess as well, parts of the Midlands, Wales, East Anglia, not bad, but I'm afraid really from the word go, across southern England, we're dealing with wind and rain. And again, on the ceiling forecast here, you can see just how much rain there is around and how low the cloud bases are. And then for Sunday, pretty breezy day on Sunday. Watch this one carefully. It may get better than is indicated here, but we've got this westerly flow, this returning polar maritime air mass, and again from weather school, those of you who've been, you'll know returning polar maritime throws basically everything at us, including the kitchen sink. These troughs passing their way eastwards as well during the course of the day on Sunday, and these things bringing with them bands of heavy showers. Pretty windy across many parts of England and Wales and southern parts of Ireland, as you see there. The risk of some gales gusting up to 35 to 40 knots in places. Rain across northern and eastern Scotland. Yeah, it's just not very pleasant. I guess western Scotland, possibly the far north of England, may fare better later on, but you know, we are really going to be struggling. Autumn is well and truly here. And I mentioned those air masses. If you want to get more familiar with air masses yourself and learn about them properly, not how they're taught in the textbooks, but really how as pilots you can use them to predict things like cloud bases and tops, visibility, whether it's going to be flyable or not, get yourself along to Aviation Weather School. If you've not come yet, I am completely full of my courses for the next month or so, but I'm planning to announce new dates in the next week. So if you want to be told when I announce those new dates, just go to weatherschool.co.uk, use the contact form there, and you can email me with your details, and I'll let you know as soon as the new dates are around. That's all announced. That's also the place to go. There's loads of freebies on the site too. Have a look at past webinars. I did a webinar on forms 214 and 215 and how you can easily understand them and use them for your flying. Go and have a look at that, completely free of charge. That's at weatherschool.co.uk too. Okay, right, I've whittled on for long enough, guys. Have a fantastic evening. Have a great weekend. Hope you managed to get some flying in. But from me, keep the sun shining, and bye for now.
Wow.
That's some very tight isobars.
Yeah. You know when the map looks like a zebra's ass, that it's a bad thing to go flying. I was hoping to go flying on Sunday, but I'm not sure that's going to happen somehow.
No. Hang a project instead.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I think it must be time for news, and I think today's top story is with you, Ed.
Yes, there's a new issue. It seems like they happen every week. It's not true. It's every 4 weeks. So the new issue is out. If you missed the LA rally, we've got a brilliant fab 8-page feature full of photos and stuff from 3 brilliant days at the rally. If you were not there, couldn't make it, or just want to remind yourself of how brilliant it was, check that out. If you're considering an engine overhaul, then we've got some hints and tips from engineer Jerry Parr on things you should consider. Plus, there's brilliant flying adventure from Paul Cadell, the truly brilliant adventure writer, where he heads off to Northern Ireland, and that will definitely want to make you head there, I'm sure. Start planning a trip for next year. Plus, there's a brilliant £53 of landing fees to save if you're a Fly Club member, including Castle Kennedy, Clench Common, Crosland Moor, Edsfield, Enstone, and Land's End.
That's a bloody good collection of free landing fees, I have to say.
Yeah, thank you to all the airfields.
Yes,
absolutely.
Well organised, Johnny.
Yeah, well done, Johnny. Well done, Johnny. Right, moving on to less joyous news, I suppose, than the fact there's a new issue. I think it's time to head for you, Dave.
Yes, the first story is I'm really not quite sure what to make of it at the moment, and that is that Thatcham Research Group has got planning permission to build their test track and to convert some of the hangars at Retford Gamston Airport. Retford Gamston is, as you can see here, is a lovely airport. It's got a great runway. It's in a great location. Some very good businesses based there. And Thatcham, for some reason, wants to convert the runway or use a runway for testing autonomous vehicles. Now, as part of the conditions of that planning permission, they have to allow aviation to continue. The details on how they're going to make that happen are a bit sketchy at the moment, to say the least. And in a little development early this evening, our story on this, which was published on Tuesday, had an email from Thatcham this evening to say, can you correct the quote from the chief executive of Thatcham Research? Now, the quote came directly from the minutes of the meeting, so I'm presuming that's accurate. It's what's reported in the council planning meeting minutes. And so anyway, they say that quote is not quite correct. Saying I published the quote they are saying correct. Probably the reason that they've been stung into this is because under the story, there's quite a lot of comments from people, including one from Anne Bartleby. Anne Bartleby may ring a bell because she's a former planning officer. She's a former director of operations at Cranberry Airport. She's a former chief executive of Red Hill Aerodrome up until 2018. And now she runs a company called Spring Green Planning. So she knows a bit about planning. She knows a bit about airfields. And so her comment has kind of stung them a little bit. At the moment, I'm trying to get an interview with the guys at Thatcham to tell us how they're going to run aviation alongside their test track. Maybe by this time next week, we can have some more details there. But one thing's for certain, aviation is going to have to somehow coexist alongside the guys at Thatcham. We have to work together somehow to make it work.
I think the one of the biggest challenges is going to be they're taking over 6 hangars. So I'm not quite sure where 6 hangars worth of aircraft are going to go.
Well, apparently there's about 90 aircraft based at Gamston, and about 45 of them are in the hangars, in these particular hangars. So that's not only is that 45 aircraft which are no longer in hangars, but also the airfield is no longer earning the money from keeping those airfield in the hangars. And should those aircraft go somewhere else because they want to be hangared, but there's no space at Gamston, then the airfield is going to lose a lot of revenue from the whole parking, the whole fuel, everything that goes along with them. So it's not a great situation for aviation at all. And you kind of have to say, why did they choose Gamston? You have to say it does look a very nice airfield, a great place to be, but there are other places they could have chosen. Anyway, hopefully we can get an interview with the guys at Thatcham and find out about all these things.
Yeah, I mean, airfields are not an obvious way to make a huge amount of money just through general aviation. And so airfields need to diversify and do all sorts of other bits and pieces. And when they do it successfully, they do it really well. And it works really well. When they don't do it successfully, it's a bit of a pain. So I guess we should encourage it. But when you see things like the 6 hangars going and those aircraft, that's kind of a real pain in the backside. We need to find out.
So the next story, which is follows on the back of that, is about Fair Oaks Airport, and another fantastic little airport, one of the few places in the south of England close to London where you can hangar an aircraft. And what's happened is that the property company that owns the hangars and the tower have leased those to somebody else. So the hangars and the tower are no longer going to be used by the airport. They're going to be used by a company which is based already at the airport, using the old Gamma hangar. They make film sets for films. They make sets of films. And from the existing tenants of those hangars and the tower have been given till February 22nd next year to move out. Now, you might wonder, how are they going to run the tower without a tower? Apparently, they're going to put up a temporary one on the grass, one of these ones that you put at events. You know, places like Ascot, when they have races, they have a helicopter pad and things like that. They're going to have that. But of course, the hangars have got a bunch of aircraft in, the more expensive aircraft and some helicopters. They're going to no longer have hangarage. So are their owners going to leave them there, keep them there in the open? Maybe not. Maybe they're going to go somewhere else. There's nowhere local. There's nowhere very local. There's no hangarage spare at Blackbush. You can't really. Farnborough's got hangarage, but that's very expensive. That's not going to happen. So
it's almost as expensive as the houses that are based around Fair Oaks, which has some very expensive real estate around it. Not quite as expensive as the landing fee for Farnborough.
Yeah, we've yet to, I've been trying to talk to somebody who can give me the other side of the argument, if you like, at Fair Oaks, and hopefully I've got that person tomorrow. But you have to sort of, if you put a cynical head on for a chain for a moment, you might think that by taking the hangarage away and by moving the tower, Fair Oaks Airport is going to become a less desirable place to keep out an aircraft and to fly from. So therefore, the movements will drop down, the revenue will drop, it will become less viable, and therefore, what can you turn it into? I know, a property development. It's not a good position to be in.
No.
I did actually wonder about maybe if the movements went down, maybe the current ATC units at Fair Oaks could downgrade to something like an air-ground unit. But apparently, because of where Fair Oaks is within the London Heathrow terminal area, it's not on. Simply not going to happen. The CA won't allow it. They've got to have a full FISO, and that's expensive. So, I really need to hear the other side of the argument, but it's not good news from Fair Oaks either.
No.
Okay. Well, try and be. Well, let's hope that we've got everything wrong, and that this time next week we'd have had people from Thatcher and people from Fair Oaks, and everything's going to be amazing and fantastic. Talking about things that aren't going to be amazing and fantastic, however, for those people who would have heard Simon talk about the tornado at Stapleford, and it's certainly been mentioned in the comments. There was just to put this out there. This is on the Sun's website. This is from the Sun's website earlier. So as you can see, I think that's an Arrow PA-28. Squirrel,
squirrel helicopter. I saw a photo of the squirrel tipped over almost on its top.
Yeah.
So not a good time at Stapleford.
Someone pointed out the registration of the PA-28 on its back, G Gus. If only that had been G Gust.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Sad. Johnny, tell us some good news about Cranberry, or however that's
so this time last week we were all kind of a bit confused, because if you looked on Skydemon, that's what you'd see. Temporary, danger areas, they in some cases looked kind of less temporary than they were and more permanent. But since then, I think Dave spoke to Skydemon, and and David Young as well, the airport manager, and it's all turned out that actually these are temporary danger areas. They're segmented up and they will be activated by NOTAM. So whereas when it first all appeared on Skydemon, it was all solid and all red, and it looked like it was all going to be closed off on a pretty permanent basis, but now they are all kind of hashed out, and they will be activated when they need to be. And just looking at the news story that Skydemon did a damn good job to kind of get down to the nitty gritty bits of the air rack and look through it all and manage to turn it around within about 24 hours of us contacting them, I think.
That's right.
And updated the software, which is really good. But the message from Clanbedda is that they're open. Go and visit them.
That's it.
Yeah, not much has changed. Just be aware that when the TDAs are active, when they're not, fill your boots.
And in any other country in the world, when they were active, you could fill your boots cautiously. But because we do things differently, we can't.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right. The future of
consultation time. Must be time for another consultation.
Yes.
Dave.
This is the future of flight. I mean, actually, it's part of a bigger thing called the Future of Transport Regulatory Review. Which is going to run from now until the 22nd of November. The full review covers electric cars, EVs as they're called, maritime, and as well as aviation. But obviously, we're only interested in the aviation bit. Transport Secretary Grant Shapps said, "This is a hugely exciting time for transport in the UK. On the roads, EVs are set to become the norm. On our seas, autonomous and remotely operated vessels will increase efficiency, improve safety. And in our skies, drones and novel aircraft will transform the way people and goods move around." So, anyway.
All right. Couldn't resist.
Yes, I know. And apparently, research suggests that the drone economy alone could be worth up to £42 billion to the UK, 42 billion by 2030.
Yeah.
I mean, these are big numbers. Anyway, going hand in hand with that future transport of regulatory review consultation, which you can find a link to on the website if you want to add to your piece. Hand in hand with that was a bunch of awards to companies who are already making some progress. So people like Zero Avia, they've been given some funds to develop, to look at how the structure would be required to have hydrogen available at airfields, for instance. Zero Avia.
Was it? Yeah. Was this this was a new pot of £5 million, wasn't it? I think, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 million. 3 million.
3 million.
Which,
okay.
Yeah. But it's a bunch of people who've got some money to advance various bits of it.
I think we should apply for some of that money. We could do some research into something, couldn't we?
It's interesting. If you look at some of the money was awarded for, there was developing a pipe so that you can deliver hydrogen, so without the hydrogen getting overheated. Some of it's about modelling of storage facilities. There's a lot of universities benefiting from lots of research money. So
yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Thank you very much. Just a quick reminder that next week on October the 6th, not quite sure which day that is. I think it's Wednesday, October the 6th. Anyone know?
Yes.
Wednesday, October the 6th. It's the first of the CA's virtual Voyage. And at the end of their presentation, I get to chair a Q&A session with the CA and get to ask Sophie O'Sullivan some questions. And I think Sir Stephen Hillier, the head of the CA, chairman of the CA, will be there. There's a whole bunch of other subject matter experts. And I'll be asking them lots of questions that you've sent in. And you can imagine some of those questions will be about licensing and the absolutely appalling results that are currently coming out of licensing. I mean, 50% of licenses are pended on their application. That system is just completely and utterly broken. Last week, I asked for a whole load of people to email me if they had any experience of it. Guess what? I know. Thank you very much. Yes, if you had to guess, out of all the emails I had, how many people sent in emails saying, the CEA licensing department are amazing. I got my license really quickly. And how many people sent in emails saying, the CA licensing department were a tad slow or similar?
I'm guessing mostly a tad slow.
I haven't seen one single "they were brilliant" email. Now, okay, you wouldn't necessarily expect that, but I have seen some truly, truly appalling ones. Some of them have asked to be kept confidential or at least not to be named. Others have said, no, feel free to use my name. There are people waiting for ratings and stuff for years. Well, maybe not years, but since April. people had ratings and stuff slipped to the back of their license just because it's unbelievable. It really is. You couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up. It's just terrible. So licensing is going to be one of the questions. So book your ticket, which you have to do online via the CEA for the virtual voyage next week. We'll ask some questions. We might even get some answers. We'll give it a go, see what we can get, and you never know. So there you go. So that's the virtual voyage. Dave, apparently you've been on holiday. That's your next news story.
Well, I think there was that one. Yes, I went to Oxford yesterday, London Oxford Airport yesterday, because they had a British business aviation afternoon. But as well as the business aviation, they also talked about some of their GA side as well. And it was pretty good, actually. I mean, it's very positive at Oxford at the moment. I mean, you might think that having that with the commercial aviation going through a pretty hard time, the rest of aviation will be going through a hard time. But at Oxford, when the first lockdown happened in March 2020, yes, they had zero happening for a while. But very quickly after that, both business aviation and the professional pilot flight training picked up very rapidly, partly because both sides of the business of aviation, business aviation and pilot training, they realized that the way forward was to create bubbles of people who would stick together and not infect other people. So that's what happened. And the business aviation started ramping up pretty quickly. They were running charters of 100 plus people for MotoGP and for Formula One. And
big
on
bubbles.
Bubbles, yes, bubbles of
Big
people.
bubbles, big bubbles.
Big bubbles, yes. And slightly smaller bubbles for the pilot flight training for companies like Leading Edge Aviation, which has kind of taken over the mantle of professional pilot flight training at London Oxford. And they're doing very well for London Oxford. I mean, there's some figures about the numbers of movements. So, for instance, in 2021 so far, the traffic levels are 30% higher than they were in pre-pandemic years, 2019. James Dillon Godfrey, who's the head of business development at the airport, he said, August proved to be our busiest month in 15 years, accounting for 7,180 movements. And July was the highest ever month for fuel uplifts. It's continued because in September, it looks like they're going to be passing 7,500 movements, which would be another record. And they've already passed, in 2021, they've already passed the number of movements they had in 2020. So good stuff. There's a whole bunch of other, excuse me, there's a whole bunch of other things happening at Oxford, which are all listed in the story on the website. I won't go through all of them, but they are building some more hangars. They're putting in a new fuel farm. And they're also looking at this future of flight thing and thinking about putting in some charging for electric aircraft. Interestingly, James pointed out that to charge something like one of these big eVTOLs, the electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, they're going to need a 2 megawatt supply minimum to charge these things. And that's a huge amount of electricity, apparently.
That's quite a big plug, isn't it? Probably.
It is quite a big plug.
That is a big plug.
I'm not sure.
There'll be a really massive fuse in the plug.
Yeah,
There will be.
Yes. So
if you get really bored talking of big electrical stuff, there's like a channel on YouTube somewhere. It's got something to do with welding. They have this massive stick welder where the stick is about this big, and you kind of have to. That's got a big plug on it as well. So anyway, there you go. You've
clearly been down the rabbit hole of YouTube recently.
I have.
One other thing I should say about Oxford: there's a new airport cafe opening very soon. It's where the old cafe was, but it's called the Aviation Station, and they've got an emphasis on sustainable local produce.
Okay, and what's the landing fee at Oxford at the moment?
I don't know, actually. Maybe we can get a free one.
That's your homework for next week.
That's it. Let's find out. Maybe if it's a reasonable cost, people will go to the cafe.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yes.
Ed, tell us about Sloan.
Sloan Helicopters celebrated their 50th birthday on September the 10th with a party at Sywell. We know this because they've just released a video of some of the highlights. Watching through that, David George, the chairman of Sloan, explained that in 1979 they took the first R-22 for export. And in 1988 they sold 68 new Robinsons. And he said they went on and bought 25% of the production at the time and averaged 40 per year for 5 years. One of the guests included Kurt Robinson, CEO of Robinson Helicopter, who pointed out that Sloan had sold the 500th and the 1000th R-22. We've got a link to that video, which we might stick in the comments or pop in a news story. So, Sloan
in the comments just now.
Oh, well done, excellent. Yeah, check that out if you.
While
like
I was there, I did notice.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you a little bit. The question about how much is a landing via Oxford was answered by Darren Lewington.
£7 per quarter. Is that £7 per quarter length of the runway?
But then it was answered properly by Keir, which was 21.
Okay.
There you go. And I'm going to ignore the Mark Litherland. Ian has been to the bottom half of the internet again. No, so that means not that one.
More importantly, Oxford landings are free with 75 litres of avgas uplifted. Wow.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
No.
That is very good. Sorry, were you? Did you finish?
I'm done. I'm done with helicopters now.
Tell you what, tonight's news has just been full of numbers. There's been more numbers and numbers and numbers all over.
Weekends only. If you're going to Oxford and have 75 litres of spare fuel capacity.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Let me just scroll down to my news story list here and see what we've forgotten. Oh, yeah, very briefly, we have got Pilot Careers Live. For those of you thinking of a professional career on the flight deck on the 6th of November, it's at Sofitel T5 London. You may well think that now is not a good time to be a professional pilot, and it probably isn't today, but given that it takes sort of 2 to 3 years, if not more, to become a professional pilot, you've got to think about what the world's going to be like then. Who knows what the answer to that is? So come along and find out. We may not give you the answer, but we'll give you lots of data so you can make the right decision. Johnny, tell us about Zara.
Yeah, just a quick update. She is in Anchorage now. She landed there yesterday, and she's apparently off to Nome today, and then off to Russia the day after. So she's ending her US section of the tour. So the fun times are over.
Blimey.
Yeah, Russia's going to be challenging at this time of year, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the whole thing is challenging. I'm still amazed.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, if you're going to fly around the world, not that I've ever flown around the world, but I can imagine when you're flying around the US, you must go, okay, this bit is relatively easy. Pretty much every service you want on call 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone's ever done that and just stayed.
There was some people flying the moon. There's a great website called Earthrounders. People who fly around the world, and there was a couple. I may have misremembered this. Who were flying around the world in a Mooney, but they were under no time pressure whatsoever. So when they got to a place, if they liked it, they just stayed there. And I think the last I heard, they'd been at it for about 5 years. And then
I like that plan.
To a place and go, yeah, that sounds like a great plan. So I mean, but Zara is soon to, well, obviously going through California and the US was nice and pleasant, and then Alaska is obviously US from that point of view, but probably slightly more challenging from a weather point of view. Russia will be a complete challenge, and then probably the toughest bit of it all will be flying back in England. Yeah, because we can make it more difficult than any of that lot for the rest of the world. Yeah. A small boring story maybe. A few years ago, and I flew to Oshkosh and back, and we were coming back in the 182. Genuinely, the hardest part from an air traffic and a transit point of view was from the minute I got to the UK. It was like you just fly all the way from freaking Oshkosh, Wisconsin, without any hassle whatsoever, and then all of a sudden you find yourself orbiting outside of Glasgow, and then you finally get through Glasgow and you go down the western side of the country at flight level 80 or something. And you go, no, you got to go down to 1,200 feet to go through the low-level corridor. And you go, really? And it genuinely, it was shocking at how difficult it was flying through the UK compared to a lot of other places, compared to everywhere else along the way, really. But there you go. Anyway, enough of that story. Sorry about that. Must be time for me to scroll down a bit further to something else. Yep.
Right, we're going to whiz through these because time's ticking on. There's nothing particularly new. The Conservative Party conference starts on the 2nd, which is
Saturday.
Saturday.
It is.
Saturday, and runs to the 6th. So there's a rat over Manchester. There's a rat over Old Warden at the weekend for the Shuttleworth race weekend, should it take place. The weather's not looking great for that. There's various TDAs still in action over until the 15th of October. This is not Sky Guardian. This is one over Lossiemouth and Boddington, but this one is showing the one over Portsmouth to the Isle of Wight. That's there till the 23rd of November. And the final one is over Cranfield, is near Cranfield till the 24th of November. So that's it for rats.
Wow. Okay.
Excellent.
Johnny, I'm not even going to run a 6-second stinger. I'm just going to bring in St. John. We're going to do a little bit of rearranging here. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. There you go. Hang on a minute.
So close to working.
There you go.
Brilliant. Right.
You at the top.
Thank you. St. John, how are you?
Hi, guys. Yeah, hi, Johnny. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Thanks for joining us at such short notice.
No problem.
And you've obviously had a lot going on in the past few weeks with the first flight of the Axel Racer. And I thought it'd be interesting just to talk briefly about the aircraft itself, the NXT. Why was that chosen in the first place? What kind of requirements were you trying to fulfill?
Yeah, so the NXT, fantastic airframe, and actually the choice of that airframe predates the project entirely. So it was many years ago when I went to Reno for the first time and saw an NXT, and working in the automotive industry, and ideas sort of fizzing round, and you looked at an aircraft and go, if you're going to put a battery in any aircraft and electrify it, that's the one to go for. And then obviously a year or two later, when we sat down and started talking to Rolls-Royce, we already had the perfect idea. We said this is the aircraft to do it. The challenge we had is, right, we've decided that this is the aeroplane we want. How do we go and get one? And at the time, the kits weren't being manufactured. Only 10 had ever been made. Two had been crashed. So just getting hold of one was probably the biggest challenge at the early stage of the project. But then we were really lucky to get hold of a kit that just so happened to be in France, and we saved that kit and turned it and customized it into what we have now.
Yeah. So how does just talk us through how the propulsion system differs from having an internal combustion engine?
Yeah, so I mean, it fundamentally everything changes. So it's that blank canvas. So the NXT is quite unique in that it doesn't have any fuel in the wing. So it's got a very thin laminar flow wings, part of its sort of DNA of how it goes fast. So it looks like a glider airfoil in its section. So that meant they had to put this great big fuel tank in the center section behind the big Lycoming engine. So used to run a twin turbo 540. And then when you take out those two great big elements, you're left with a singular great big space to fit your powertrain. And for when you're developing EV powertrains, that's exactly what you need. And we see that with electric cars today. They're basically these great big skateboard batteries with motors at either end and then a body on top. And that architecture makes them super efficient, and it's how they keep getting the range, because they're fundamentally throwing more and more cells in there. So for us engineering that was really key. And even when you look at the aircraft now and some of the pictures we've got out there, you'll pretty much see it's fundamentally a powertrain with a carbon aeroplane attached to the back of it. And actually, that's how we put it together. So we have the propulsion system in all of its entirety with the Yasa motors, the battery, all of our systems sits on a frame, and then we literally push the aeroplane onto the back of it, do up the bolts, and that's it. And the aircraft in itself only weighs it's about 350 kilograms total. So the carbon airframe is super efficient. Some pictures in the background. So that's our battery system. So you have to build the battery on the frame because you're putting so much weight in there. Each one of those modules is about 20 kilograms. We've got 18 of those, so the weight builds up really quickly. So yeah, we had to think about this as we're building it, and then yeah, it's very interesting when you wheel your aeroplane onto the back of your battery, and away you go.
Yeah, and in terms of the weight of the aircraft, is it more than it would have been with the 540 on and a full fuel tank?
Yeah, so only a little bit, but effectively we're flying around on full tank, so we're just about 1,200 kilograms. So what's quite interesting is when we were doing our research on NXTs is there are some people that have flown NXTs at heavy weights, and like for instance, if you were flying to Oshkosh or whatever from the other side of the states, you tank it up and you go do 1,000 miles. I mean, it was an amazing touring machine just by accident as well in its design. But what people haven't done is then landed an aircraft because effectively they always burn off the fuel as you'd expect, and that was a little bit different about what we're doing. Our takeoff weight and our landing weight is exactly the same, maybe minus a bit of pilot perspiration if it gets exciting. So that's it really. So we had to just make sure that we were happy, did some reverse engineering of the landing gear system, and just made sure. And we're pretty fortunate because it's a very, very strong airframe. It was designed to do 400 miles an hour at 100 feet in turbulence. So it's incredibly strong, amazing design from the outset. So we've got loads of residual strength there.
And how long did it take you to develop from when you got the airframe to when you pushed it out and it was ready to fly?
So about 3 years in total, and I mean fundamentally we also built a company as well, and that's not to be an engineering company. So actually the first year was about identifying what we need. It took us a while to go get the kit. It took us a while to bring the people on board. So, I mean, if we were to start the project again now, we'd probably do it in about 18 months flat because we've got so much more knowledge. We've got an amazing team of people together. We've got all the facilities we need. Whereas literally the project was 3 people walk into a building with a laptop and there you go, you start. And obviously at the moment, we're now an organisation, about 35 people. We've got obviously the Rolls-Royce team grew as well on that side. So, yeah. The project was never just about the aeroplane that comes out of it. It was always about the engineering around it as well.
Yeah. And in terms of the people, who is now flying it?
So there are two pilots involved in the program. So we've got Phil O'Dell. So Phil O'Dell is Rolls-Royce's chief test pilot, military aviator, flies at Warbirds, etc. So great experience there coming into the program. And then we've also got Steve Jones, who's been connected with Electroflight for a number of years. And obviously Steve's CV speaks for itself as well. So lots and lots of Warbird and tail dragger experience. And those guys, we were very lucky to track down an NXT owner that was willing to let us loose in their aircraft. So a couple of years ago, as a sort of a group of us went over to Florida, got in the aeroplane, figured it out, and the guys ended up loving it. So that gave us a lot of confidence coming into the flight test program that the baseline aeroplane we were pretty happy with.
Yeah, brilliant. So you've been doing your testing at Boscombe, haven't you? What chose you to? Why did you choose Boscombe basically? Because I guess there are probably a few airports that would fit the bill.
Yeah, there are, and we looked at the requirements, and I mean fundamentally, Boscombe was set up for flight testing, and still today that's their through Kinetic, that's their product, and ETPS are there. And actually, yeah, when you weigh it all up, there's a lot that they've got that lends itself to just a big team of people or relatively big team going there and setting up to do a flight test program. And just even, for instance, the air traffic service is just used to this type of thing. Although they haven't done too many sort of first flights, but they're used to that environment. And yeah, obviously, most other airfields in the UK are a commercial entity trying to obviously, operate, and they don't want a test team turning up and needing the runway for an hour, even because sometimes it's not necessarily, we do a lot of taxi testing, so it's not just turn up, go flying, integrate with traffic. We need, for this sort of testing, we need a sterile environment, and Boscombe provide that, and which is really good. And so there were some challenges with the airspace, obviously, as if anyone's sort of seen Boscombe on a map, they'll see that it's a bit tricky there. And obviously we're not like most of the other aircraft there that often would go up into airways and do stuff at higher levels. So we are down at lower sort of GA altitude. So but they've dealt with it fantastically, and yeah, the rest of the program's sort of continuing with pace. We could do with a bit more sort of better weather, but I mean, what do we expect? We're trying to flight test in October. It will be October in the UK.
Yeah. So that first flight, what kind of things are you? What's your aim? Because obviously the aircraft itself was built to go very, very fast, but you're not going to do that on flight one, are you? What was on the kind of checklist for the first flight?
Yeah, so fundamentally, it's takeoff, and from the moment you're in the air, it's go figure out how to land it, basically, because that's the risk profile. So yeah, first flight was all about climb to altitude, get the aircraft configured, stall it, understand how we're going to approach. It does approach fast. It was built to it's optimized for speed, so it does land quite quickly. So we needed to figure out that, and obviously some of the changes that we made, we needed to understand that. Unfortunately, it was a fantastic anticlimax. In doing all of the kind of flying the aircraft, we effectively forgot it was an electric aircraft, other than checking our state of charge, and the powertrain performed really well. So we were really pleased with that. I mean, fundamentally, we'd spent so much time sort of understanding it on the ground, doing lots of simulated propulsion runs, so tethered runs, effectively practicing flight cycles. So yeah, we were really pleased that when it got up, it all behaved really well. So it's given us a great foundation. So now that we've cleared the initial elements of the envelope, it's all about building the speed up and get ready to set some records.
Yeah, and when will you be aiming to set those records?
It's pretty hard to tell. So obviously we've got a really detailed flight test plan, and Rolls-Royce lead that flight test program, and they've done. It's been great to work with those guys, who obviously they're a company that tests their product continually in the air. So we've got a lot of experience there. Obviously, weather is a huge factor. So we could come up with a date, and the weather would immediately change that plan. But yeah, we're hoping to get it done in the next couple of months or so.
Brilliant. And what were Steve and Phil O'Dell's kind of thoughts on the first flights? Because looking at it looks like a very obviously built to go fast. Looks quite squirrely. How did they find it?
Yeah, it is a thoroughbred. I think Phil used those words himself. So yeah, built to go quickly. So the handling is somewhat compromised at lower speeds, and I think Steve summed it up really well. And with the two aeroplanes that he's flown, and he said it's got the handling of and sort of dynamics of a Cassett racer, but with the performance of a P-51 Mustang. So that's a really weird mix. So but the guys, we've got good confidence that, having flown the one in America, that the moment that you start building the speed, the aeroplane comes into its own and starts handling really nicely. Yeah. But they're super experienced test pilots. I mean, we never designed it to be easily operable by a standard GA pilot. So if the fact that it's a little bit difficult, these guys are fully on top of. So.
Yeah, Mark Jeffries says, now you have the power used and the speed achieved. Can you predict the ultimate speed? I know you've got a speed that you're aiming for, haven't you?
Yeah. So I mean, that's a great thing about record-setting programs, is you try and go as fast as possible, and so you don't. So the target was go as fast as possible within all the standard engineering trade-offs that you have to do, and over time you figure those out. And we know we know our powertrain really well at the moment. The first few flights give the engineering team some great data, so that they crunch all the numbers on that data. We've got some simulation tools, and this, for these guys, this is an amazing part of the program. So they've spent 2.5-3 years engineering this from pretty much zero. So there are very few standard parts on this powertrain that we've bought in. Everything, a lot of stuff is custom to us. So it's amazing for them to see their creation fly, and now they're really excited to get that data back and see how they've done against their simulations. That's what a lot of the engineering team get really excited about, is how close were we on the prediction. As we fly the aircraft a bit more dynamically, as you know, for instance, the aircraft in the turn, we need to understand that performance, because that will have an effect on the record setting. So, yeah, we're getting pretty close to being able to pick a number that we think we'll be able to achieve. But I think, Rolls-Royce, we're publicly stating we expect to go over 300 miles an hour on the 3-kilometre record profile.
Yeah. And if you had to put a figure on it, how long do you think it would be before people are sticking YASA motors and batteries in their permit aircraft and flying around normally?
Yeah, it's a super interesting question. And So at the moment we're in a really interesting phase. So last couple of basically GA happens because there's basically a lot of commercial impetus that drives it. And at the moment we're just starting to see the commercial impetus that's driving electrification. And at the moment that's eVTOL. There's a lot of people getting excited about eVTOL. And whether you think it's the next greatest thing or not, the fact that there's money pouring into the top is really positive because it flows down into the supply chain. Companies respond to that and start engineering products. Remember, like the Lycoming didn't just exist; it was engineered for a reason to deliver contracts, and then obviously was developed from that point. And we're in that phase at the moment where all of these key components are being developed, and hopefully, what I hope will happen, it will be the cross-industry element that will follow into GA, because GA just doesn't have the commercial viability to fund brand new technology. Through to him, because the volumes aren't there. Even at the very large aircraft costs that we have today for a brand new airframe, these unique powertrains will double, quadruple those numbers, and then it's not feasible and viable. So we've got a few more years to wait yet. What we hope to do is bring through some demo programs and just demonstrate the technology. I think recently the next defence trainer has been, so the government have basically put a line in the sand saying they want that to be zero emissions at point of use, and that's really interesting. So that's really good that we've got these government pushing industry to go innovate, and that contract's going to be really important because I think that will actually provide the funding to go develop a GA type that can do the aerobatics profiles. It's a fair bit bigger than the sort of the ultralight type aircraft we're seeing at the moment. So next few years are going to be really interesting.
Yeah, and as Darren Lewington just said, what's next for you and the team once this is ticked off? I know you're still working on it.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So we were pretty lucky. The Axel program was an amazing start for any company. So when your first customer is Rolls-Royce in engineering, that's not bad going. So we've had to grab hold of that opportunity. So we're already within Axel, we'd grown and developed, and when we're already delivering programs to other customers. So Electroflight fundamentally is pushing in the direction of being a battery system supplier. We see a great opportunity for us to establish there. We still have a lot of integration capability, and we want to take on integration type projects, but fundamentally our product and our sort of services are around the battery system, and we're seeing really high demand for that at the moment. There is a lot of eVTOL interest at the moment, and we're already supplying to one of the biggest and leading eVTOL companies globally, which is really exciting. So that's the company's already heavily focused on that. Axel is actually only maybe 20% of our work at the moment, so that's really exciting. So yes, we want to get Axel over the line and finished, and it would be a great achievement. But already as a business, we've got lots of people working on the next greatest thing.
Yeah, brilliant. It's good. Well, no, we look forward to seeing it smash those records. And before we go on to the next section, Fancy Hangar, I'm just going to flash this picture up because it references what we're going to be talking about next. But is that actually how you move the aircraft around?
Yeah, pretty much. So, Boscombe's a big place, and sometimes we'll do testing on different bits of the airfield. But yeah, this is Roger's glider heritage coming out. So this is obviously the glider tow kits that you guys will see. People moving their aircraft to the launch point, very much heavily influenced here. So and obviously Jaguar supported the program and gave us access to a couple of electric cars, which is only fitting. It's all good stuff.
Brilliant, good. Well, Stjohn, thank you very much for joining us, and I think we'll have to try and get some more interviews done soon. Maybe sat around the real thing.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, you've managed to pick pretty much the one day that I'm not at Boscombe Down, so I haven't got it in the background. But yeah, we'll get something going soon.
But you've got your lovely Laser 200 in the background, haven't you?
I do, yeah. I thought I've got to put something interesting in the background, so there it is.
Which Mark Jeffries has been pointing, is going, that used to be my Laser.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
It's a bit different now, Mark, but yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Very good.
What does Mark just say? What else? Get the laser.
Yeah, well, I mean, pretty much the whole of the Axel team was pretty adamant that they would fly before my Laser. And they would be, if they saw too much progress happening on my laser, they were questioning my commitment to company. So I had to. I've been sandbagging for the last 6 months while Rolls-Royce have been getting ready to go flying.
Yeah. Well, there's an offer. If anyone wants a flight in an electric aircraft, I've just qualified as an instructor on the Velis Electra at Damon's Hall. Ian, maybe you need to go and get some flight instruction in electric with a live stream viewer.
I need to go see Claire, and we need to make a little video and find out a few bits and pieces about this. Claire, drop me an email.
Good stuff.
Great. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Thank you, Stjohn.
Yeah.
No worries.
Stjohn, thank you, and best of luck with everything. We look forward to hearing you set a fantastic number with that aeroplane. So,
yeah, thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All the best.
Whoa.
There we go. Swapping around.
There we go.
It must be time for.
Well, before we go on, there was a bit of stuff in the comments that we should probably deal with. We were getting a little bit of grief because we mentioned Gamston and FairX and didn't mention Coventry. I try to point out that Coventry has been covered before. It's covered in the magazines, covered on the website. We've done quite a lot on Coventry, but you are right. The deadline for objections is October the 4th, which is not that far away. So
there is a flying. Don't forget as well. There is a flying. Well, there was a flying planned. Is a flying planned for Saturday, I think, on the 2nd, isn't it?
Yeah.
Weather might be a bit challenging for that, but it is to point out that Coventry, very very viable airport. So if you're in an aeroplane and have got flyable weather and can make it to Coventry, go and join the fly-in.
Get yourself down there. Absolutely right. As you say, Ed.
Time. So, fancy hangar. All this talk of airfields and the challenges they face got us thinking about aeroplanes you can take home with you. Quick to de-rig or fold up. So we went looking. And this is what we found. There's already someone's already suggested one, which I'd forgotten, and I will pick up on later because it's a good suggestion. But anyway, who's first?
Dave's first.
Dave's first.
Yes.
Is it the roadable Luscombe?
No. I've tackled the problem at source, and I've got an aircraft that can not only be taken home. It self packs. It self packs. So it's the PAL V flying. Well, they call it a flying car. I prefer to call it a flying motorcycle because it banks around corners. But this is it. It packs up like this, and you can drive it on the road, and then you can unpack the rotor and the tailplane, and then you fly it, and it operates just like an autogyro.
There
was me thinking that wouldn't want to be inside there. Right,
that's it.
Driving
there was me thinking it had a roof rack on it.
No, the only challenge is it's going to cost an extraordinarily large sum of money. So
it's a fantasy hangar. It doesn't matter.
That's it. If that's your fancy, Dave, we salute you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's my turn next this week. So my initial thought was to go for this Velis.
It's the Apis B, isn't it?
The Taurus. Sorry,
is that the Apis B or no? It's the Taurus Electra, is it?
It's the Taurus. Yeah, nice side by side, electrically powered 2-seat motor glider, which will charge itself up when its own trailer, which you can take home if you live somewhere sunny. I thought that was pretty special, and then I thought, it hasn't got the endurance on days when you haven't got, that aren't thermic and you can't soar. You can't. So then I thought, no, back to basics. And I thought the Adam, this little SSDR, kind of, as you said earlier, Ed, channeling my flex wing desires. I've never flown. Well, I have once flown a flex wing, and I'm itching to go and fly one again. It's a bit cold at the moment to do that. But I reckon that would be pretty funky. But actually, when it comes down to it, everyone probably knows, no mystery here. This is what I want. A Panther, foldable wings, lovely little tail dragging, aerobatic, single seat, super fun airplane. The only thing that airplane screams is fun, and it is fun. So
and it has a really brilliant wing fold where one just single-handedly pull it out, stays on a rod, twists and rotates, stows on the tailplane. Yeah, I've got to say that's a good fold-up take-home aeroplane. That. So
Did that Adam have a retractable?
It's a retractable
undercarriage.
Wing, yeah.
That's why I was.
Yeah, it's got a retractable undercarriage, a manually retractable undercarriage,
Wow.
and you can store it apparently. But
it's a great the whole nano microlight thing is a great access point to flying. You can buy a brand new nano microlight for probably less than 10K.
Yeah, there's three. There's like the Peabody, the Adam, and something I've forgotten the name of. But they're kind of like all just around 10K, just under 10K kind of thing, depending on the options you choose.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. No, there's one of those in my. Well, it's a flight in one of those in one of my. Maybe there is. Maybe there isn't. Who knows? Johnny.
Yeah, I've gone for something a bit more modern and probably just as expensive as Dave's, and that's the Icon A5.
Ooh,
look at that. Smart. Yeah, they quote about 20 minutes de-rigging and re-rigging and getting it on the trailer and off the trailer. And of course, this is their own custom-built trailer. They've got plenty of nice fancy stats on it on the website. And actually, having just looked and scrolled through, they actually do an inflatable dock to put on the back of your yacht. You could just taxi the Icon up to the back of your yacht and whatever you do, moor it.
Johnny, wow. I reckon the trailer on an Icon is probably more expensive than my Adam.
Easily.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw no accident report is brilliant, but I saw an accident report that only an Icon A5 could have had recently. It was someone had taken their A5 off to somewhere nice. They rolled up at a beach or something, done some sunbathing, put their wireless speaker on top of the wing and listened to some tunes. And then when it was time to go home, they went to take off and forgot their wireless speaker, which went through the prop.
Oh no!
Yes.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Never good. Nice choice though, Johnny. Quite expensive. Very posh.
Yeah. Ed.
That leaves me, and I've been a bit speculative here because this is still in the test flight stage. But it's from someone who delivered us a British aeroplane with definite folding wing heritage. Lots of them built. And his latest project is this. It's the fabulous Ivan Shaw ISA 180 Seeker. If you saw this at the rally, you saw that this does fold up. It's got little electrical pit pins that are actuated on a little key fob he keeps in his pocket. And you can push the button, the wings fold, and you just pull the wings out, fold them. It takes about 10, 20 seconds to fold each wing. And the whole thing is sized to go in a container and is perfectly sized to go on a trailer. And this is just such a gorgeous little aeroplane. I know single seaters aren't for everyone, but this is it's Rotax 912S powered 100 horse. Ivan reckons that it's going to be good for 180 knots, even if it doesn't crack 180 knots. At the moment he's easily doing 120 knots and his gear's fixed down. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful little machine, and I think that would be a lovely, cracking little machine to be in the corner of your fancy hangar, or even you've dragged it home and put it in your fancy garage.
Yeah,
his key fob mechanism. So I was going to say, I hope his key fob is a bit more reliable than my Land Rover one.
Yeah, but yours is a Land Rover, Dave. You definitely wouldn't choose to go flying in anything made by Land Rover, would you?
I love the car apart from that. But,
yeah. So what's happening in the comments then?
So in the comments, I need to scroll back quite a long way. But
Dave White makes a good point because we're on about taking aircraft home.
Yeah.
Well, we could have picked houses with runways.
Home. Yeah, that's fancy house and hangar, isn't it? Well, I guess it is fancy hangar, isn't it? Colin Elder reminded me, and I met Colin at Wadswick one day. The Bolko Monson, He does correct his spelling. The Bolko Monson has foldable wings and can be towed on its own wheels. The Monson is this fantastic little machine that has been long forgotten, but owners of them still, really value them for the fantastic machines that they are. But they fold up really quite easily, and they're, aerobatic and just lovely, really well engineered German 2-seat tourer, and just good fun machine. Further on in the comments, we have, and I just need to find my spot.
Just looking at that comment about the Hornet Moth.
Hornet Moth is a good
the wings on a Hornet Moth, but can you put it on a trailer or?
I'm sure I've seen plenty of photos of Hornet Moths being towed by you just hitch it up to the bumper of your Riley Special or whatever it was. Old cars are not my speciality, but
Austin A35 or something.
That's it, yeah. But I have seen that. So what have we got? Interestingly, Mike. So the Spezio 2-holer, which I think is what Mikey was aiming for here. That is foldable. That's a 2-seat low-wing aeroplane. Richard Kennedy says Panther is a good shout. Adrian Norris, good suggestion here, Adrian. The Goodyear Inflato plane fits in the back of your car. Yeah, that is a good choice.
Pete Stratton.
Grob 109 Able has foldable wings. Yeah, it's quite. I think you could put that in a trailer and take it home with you.
I guess you could put it in a trailer. It'd be quite a long
That's
trailer.
it.
But there you go.
Darren Lewington says Ed's nailed it. Keir Williams says Ed wins. Richard Kennedy says Ed again. Mark Wilt says, let's not forget the RV12. That's true. That wheelie plane bloke says Ed's got it. So it is still prefer the Panther. So Ian wins. John Park said Ed wins again. David Eade says Johnny wins. I know that David likes a seaplane, so it might be a win for the Shaw 180 Seeker. So
okay.
But some good machines there. And David, I was tempted to go. I hesitate to use the words plain vanilla Eurofox, but the Eurofox is an excellent machine, and the fact that it's foldable as well, and their popularity speaks volumes about them being such an excellent machine. So, Mark Jeffrey says, all this talk of folding wings. Last week, I took my folded wing up a 12,000-foot mountain and ran off the side.
And Andrew says,
not
very fancy, though.
I don't know. That might be, yes.
Mark Works, 4 months for Ivan's.
4 months for Ivan's commitment. Anyway, some good choices.
Anyway, time's running on. Are we over time yet? Oh, blimey, we're over time.
Yeah, we are.
Time's running over.
Right. Dave, tell us about the events that are cancelled this weekend quickly.
Well, basically, there's nothing on this weekend. I won't use the phrase in the script. There's nothing really on this weekend because it's all been cancelled. There is the Shuttleworth race weekend. Just don't expect any aircraft. The Poole's air day is supposed to be at Compton Abbas is cancelled because of the weather. Next week, there's the Helitech Expo at London XL, should you like helicopters.
Or London XL, which nobody does.
Yeah, the Coventry fly-in is on, don't forget, if you can make it due to the weather.
Right.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Johnny.
Yep, join the club. £7.50 per quarter.
A simple message.
You got it right. It right. Simple message, nicely delivered. On that note, I think we need to say thank you again very much to Sky Demon for supporting this. If you haven't tried Sky Demon, get over to your favourite app store, download it, and give it a go on 30-day free trial. Thank you very much for supporting. Much, much appreciated. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We look forward to seeing you next week. Don't forget, Coventry comments need to be in by October the 4th, which is Monday, is it?
Monday, yeah.
Monday, so get going on that. And thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next week, or unless we see you on the CA's virtual voyage on Wednesday, when we'll begin hunting for answers to questions. Let's see if we can find any. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Stay safe, everyone. See you next week.
See you all soon.
Find that button.
I'll put this up anyway. There you go.
There we go. That works. Read the new issue.